California Governor Gavin Newsom is calling the devastation in his state a climate emergency.
It's no coincidence. It's climate change.
A major factor, climate change.
The environmental crisis is a global phenomenon that came knocking on New Yorkers' doors when the climate change clock was installed in Union Square and began counting down to when the effects of global warming will be irreversible. Tyson Patros is an assistant professor and faculty fellow for the Department of Social and Cultural Analysis at NYU. I'm sitting down to discuss his take on this new installation and on the climate crisis.
So to start off, I'd just love to ask you, what do you think the meaning behind the climate clock in Union Square is?
So I think before the clock, switched over to the climate clock, there were messages. The message said the Earth has a deadline that began to appear on the display. And then the numbers showed up in years, days, hours, minutes, and seconds until that deadline. Even though that deadline shifts now and then based on new calculations, this is the window for action. That's the main meaning. Not just the tick down to the bomb, right? But the tick down in terms of the time we have to do something about it.
Why New York City? Why Union Square? And why right now with the political climate we have as well, with this timing that's so close to the election? Why do you think they chose this time? And what impact do you think was meant to occur from that?
Having that visual manifestation of this window of possible action is definitely meant to kick people into action. In terms of the implications for now, why now? I think the clock being there reflects actually the influence of the wider kind of environmental movement across the world. But this is really a global phenomenon.
The West Coast has just been rampaged with wildfires these past couple months. A lot of people don't see that as climate change, but what can you say to those people, and how is that a direct result of the climate crisis?
Well, there are different ways that increasing global climate promotes fires, such as those on the West Coast. Increasing temperature, the frequency, intensity, and the extent of heat waves. So how often heat waves happen, what the intensity is, and their extent, like the scope of that heat wave, as well as droughts and extreme winds.
We have more information that we could ever ask for at our fingertips, and people still see true facts and statements about climate change, but choose to believe that it's fake news. Why do you think that is, and what impact do you think the media has in this misconception that's now been circulating?
In terms of the mainstream, like big media, I think that influence is actually, it's very important, but sort of secondary. What do I mean by that? I actually would trace the fake news about climate change in its origins to actually what we call organized interests who promote and have promoted climate change skepticism. Oh, things are uncertain. That skepticism, the extreme version of that is denial. And so I would trace most, at least originally, that fake news to powerful actors, we call, powerful organizations. And then you might have these media forums online that have no direct connection to like oil money, but they're basically like spewing these conspiracy theories about climate change. So I think that climate change denialism in the United States has a fertile terrain. A lot of people who are willing to believe in that denialism. And I think that actually has to do with a lot of deeper problems in the United States, mainly in terms of trust in, say, the federal government and in the mainstream media.
Until action is taken, the clock will continue to count down to zero. Claire Wright, NYU Now.